Hello, welcome to the third day of the fourth annual Rock the R Week. Today we have Megan Leece as our guest speaker. We're talking about ultrasound biofeedback. If you are watching this on Instagram, in just a second, you're going to have trouble seeing us. So I recommend that you go to youtube.com/@rocktherspeech. I'm going to pop that into the comments right now because in a second you're not going to be able to see Megan. Okay, better way to watch. I'm going to type it real quick, so sorry. Rock the R speech. Okay, so hopefully, and I'll remind you guys in a second if needed. So, okay, I'm going to bring Megan on. Hello,
Hi.
Megan.
Oh,
Thank you so much for joining us. You're in the lab right now, right? So you're busy at work today.
I am. I had a participant this morning, and this is where we work.
I love it. And just a reminder, if you're tuning in on Instagram, if you head to YouTube, you're going to have a much better view. We're still working out kinks, so I apologize. You can't see Megan, but she is there. Okay. So if you're not familiar with Megan Leece, you should be. We'll talk about this shirt. We'll talk about my shirt in just a second. But Megan is a research SLP from the Speech Production Lab at Syracuse University. She is a co-author on many peer-reviewed papers covering aspects of our treatment, including treatment using both visual acoustic and ultrasound biofeedback. And this is just my little nerdy little shirt of one of my favorite papers that she was a part of.
I have that sticker.
Yes, I gave her the sticker. I don't think I've worn it around you yet. I've been too embarrassed to wear it, but we've talked enough now that I'm like, okay, I'll let my freak flag fly a little bit.
Love it.
Good.
We can talk marching band. We can talk marching band. We can talk this.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I love it. So let's go ahead and jump in. We're talking about ultrasound biofeedback. And if anyone is unfamiliar with what that is, Megan, could you explain a little bit about what that is and why it's so helpful for treatment of the R?
Sure. So ultrasound is the same kind of medical ultrasound that you would see in a clinic. So it's the same thing that you would use to visualize something like a kidney or a heart or a fetus. Same idea. If you have heard sonogram, a sonogram is just the picture that is developed from the ultrasound or the ultrasound technology. So those things can kind of be used interchangeably. So what an ultrasound does is it has high frequency sound waves, and the high frequency sound waves travel through soft tissue. And when they encounter a boundary, so in this case, the top surface of the tongue where the soft tissue meets the air, it kind of reflects back and it gives us a more solid white line. So what it can do is it can help us kind of trace what the tongue is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that helpful for R? Well, the poster that's behind me came from the Suzanne Boyce 2016 article.
Mm-hmm.
And that poster has 22 different speakers who are all saying the R sound, and they are all saying it correctly. And there are kind of distinct features that we look for when we talk about an R sound. So we look for there to be some sort of elevation in the front, some sort of lowering in the back. But each one of their individual shapes is distinct. So that is one of the reasons that it is so hard for our kids to learn R quickly, because they have a shape that is tuned for their individual vocal tract. And what ultrasound can do is it can help us try to identify some of those shapes. One of the other things I really like about ultrasound is that it makes the cueing neutral. I don't have to fight with the participant who's sitting next to me. We don't have to argue about, yes, I did raise my tongue up. I did too raise my tongue up. How do you know I didn't? We can look at it on the screen, and it makes it a very neutral proposition just to say, like, I wanted your tongue to get to here. Did it get to there? I wanted your tongue to lower this much. Did it get that low? So it really kind of takes the back and forth that you might have with between like a speech therapist and a kid when you're giving cueing. Sometimes there can be like tension or back and forth about, yes, I did do that. And you're saying like, well, the sound didn't change. I'm not sure that you did. But this makes it neutral because you can see When you give a cue, did they lift the front of their tongue up?
Mm-hmm.
Were they able to get the sides of their tongue up? Were they able to get it? Were they able to get the middle low? And it really just kind of helps. Sometimes it's a matter of degrees. Sometimes it's like, yes, you're lifting the front of your tongue up, but it's not quite enough. Or you're lifting your tongue up, but it's too far, or it's too far back in your mouth. And it just gives you a different way to cue. You can kind of add that visual modality along with the feeling modality. I heard you and Kristen talking yesterday about some kids can really hear when their R is correct or incorrect, and some kids can really feel when their R is correct
Right.
or incorrect. What we can do with the ultrasound is we can kind of take that middle ground and we can say, like, well, let's see some of the features and let's try to aim for some of those. And you know, if somebody's been in therapy for years and years and years, like, I don't necessarily need you to trust your ears. What I want you to do is trust your eyes. You're going to trust my ears,
Yeah.
and we'll see where we get.
I love that because even I do my best to figure out whether a student whether we can rely on their ears or the feeling in their mouth. But I feel like a lot of kids, neither one of those is super reliable. So I love what you're saying about the ultrasound is sort of like this third party, it's neutral and it's just fact. Like this is not subjective. You either see it or you don't. So I think that's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah, it can be very powerful for kids.
Mm-hmm.
For some kids, it's not a great fit for everyone. For some, I don't want to give the impression that like ultrasound is the best thing for every R in the world. But I do think like for some kids that can be really powerful, and it can sometimes take the pressure off them too, to be like, I don't know why I'm not getting it. Again, last night Kristen was talking about, when parents hear that level of cueing, it kind of, prompts them to think like, oh my gosh, like that's really complex.
Yeah.
Like that R sound is really complex. It's not just a hill. It's not like doing a K where it's high and back and low in the front. You have parts that are moving forward, parts that are moving up, parts that are moving down, and parts that are moving back. So you are
Mm-hmm.
moving in 3 dimensions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really, really complex. And the along with that, I think also you help cut kids a break. Like it's okay that this was hard for you to learn. It's a hard skill.
Right.
You have to master a lot of things, and you have to do it with the right force and the right timing and the right tension, and like you have to get all those pieces working together, and ultrasound can be a powerful tool to help you do that.
Yes, yes, yes. That makes so much sense. Um, I am going to pull up one of those videos that you sent me so people can see a little demo of what this actually looks like in real time. Um, let's see if this works. It does. Okay, you know what? People joining on Instagram, this will be a decent view. You should be able to actually see this video. I'm so sorry that the screens don't play nicely together. If you go to YouTube, you can actually see the full screen. So youtube.com/at rock the R speech, and you can watch a better view there. But let's go ahead and play this. And Megan, you can let us know what we're seeing maybe.
So as you're getting started, the front of the tongue should be on the right-hand side of the screen, and the back of the tongue should be on the left-hand side of the screen.
Okay.
These videos came from, I think it's the intensives paper, I think I sent you, Lindsay. So it's John and I wrote an article in 2017 where we had kids come in for 14 hours of therapy in 1 week, and we tracked their improvement. So these are some videos that we made during that kind of intensive treatment package using the ultrasound.
Okay. And right now, are we looking at the side right now? Or
I
are we
don't know.
looking from the front?
I can't see it. It would be if it was the first video. If it was video one, it's a sagittal view, so it's from the side.
Okay. It's just so cool. I feel like so much of the time we are flying blind trying to treat the R. And like you mentioned, I mean, kids don't always know what they're feeling. So it's just really neat. So that's what it looks like. And I know it can feel a little I love all the drawings. I know it can feel a little intimidating because ultrasound I started thinking about purchasing my own ultrasound probably a year ago. Here, I'll switch the view back for now. And I was panicking. I was like reaching out to friends. I'm like, your dad's a radiologist. How do I How do I get an ultrasound? What do I do? Do I have to go to get an associate's degree to use one? Do I have, like, I really truly felt so lost. And then at ASHA this past year, well, not just, was it just Syracuse? It was who all put on that session? Oh, I can't hear you. I muted you? Did I mute you? Oh dear. No, no, no. Hmm.
There we go.
Okay, good.
So at ASHA, it was myself and Nicole, who are from Syracuse University, and then one of our collaborators, Ms. Charles Swartz, who is at Thomas Jefferson University. She was formerly a research partner at Montclair State. And then also Elaine Hitchcock and John Preston were also in the room to kind of help with the ultrasound. So it was kind of some of the combined like C results team that I do most of my research with.
I gotcha. So yeah, it was quite a collaborative effort. Well, I just remember that, so at the session, you guys had several ultrasounds set up around the room, and you actually let us try it. So you pick up the probe, which looks like, I don't know.
Looks like this.
Oh yeah, perfect, great. It looks like this. You stick it up under the tongue, and then you get that view. And I just remember being so shocked at how I felt like, okay, yeah, it might take me a second to figure out the software and getting it set up, but if I had an ultrasound in my hand, I feel like I could effectively use that in therapy that day.
Yeah, that's one of the things that when I do trainings and stuff, as an SLP, what you know about phonetics, you are 90% of the way there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what you know about phonetics, like what you know about the production of R, like you know that if you do like a ta-ta-ta sound, the front of the tongue has to raise. You know that if you do a ka-ka-ka, the back of the tongue is going to raise. Like you have a lot of the pieces. All you're doing is putting the visual modality to it. Right. So, this is where, and I don't know if she's on the call, but this is where I would get my Kelly Farquharson, like, you have to embrace the expertise that you have. This is a place that you can really do it because you do have a lot of phonetic knowledge that you bring to the table. And then it's just a matter of kind of linking the cues that you're already comfortable using with what you're seeing on the screen. So yeah, as Lindsay said, like this is the ultrasound, this is the transducer. This happens to be a microconvex transducer. There are different sizes. This is about as large as I would go for a child because you want it to fit like kind of neatly under their chin. You can use it either, you need to hold it vertically. Sorry, I had to get on my tiptoes. So you want to make sure that as kids are holding it, that they're holding it vertically. You don't want them to go like this because the sound waves, again, remember this is sound waves traveling through soft tissue. The sound waves come up at a kind of like straight through the probe. So as they meet your skin, they're kind of coming up like this, right? So you want to make sure if you want to catch the most of the tongue, you're going to have those sound waves traveling through your soft tissue like this. So this is the transducer. You can use it in sagittal. You can use it, you can turn it to the side, and you can use it in coronal. That would be looking at your tongue like you're looking in a mirror. So that's where you would see that lateral elevation. You would see the sides up and the middle down. And then this is the other piece. Like this is the part that, processes the images and sends them back to the computer. I just have a power cord and a USB cable that goes into either my laptop or the desktop that I use. And that is the whole system.
Right. Yeah, I feel like maybe if you had to guess from the time that somebody might open their package, their little ultrasound that they just purchased, till they can use it in therapy, would it be like an hour setup? A day?
It probably wouldn't take very long for us. Whenever we plug a new one in, we have to download the drivers. We have an annotation tool that is also available for free that we use. So, we have to do like just kind of some computer-based setup. Once you turn on the system for the first time, many ultrasounds actually they don't give you like a nice view that you would be used to with your head kind of in this orientation. It's actually upside down because that's the way that they visualize the structures in the body. So you would have to figure out kind of how to turn your camera. I know for some of the tablet-based systems, you actually just flip the iPad upside down.
Uh-huh.
Um, doing some other things like how do you get video clips, or like how do you pause things? How do you back up? That may take some experimentation. But I am usually one to experiment with kids in the room. So I think some of that is just, you know, what risks are you willing to take with kids, and you know, I think it's good for them to see you learn a new skill and to kind of demonstrate those kind of like, hey, we're just going to figure this out together and it's going to be fine, and I'll help you, and you're helping me learn more about this too.
Yeah.
But I certainly think like you should be able to, if you open the box, you get everything set up, you know, give yourself a day or two to like image yourself, image your own kids, or, you know, your partner. Once you feel comfortable with those things, you can definitely work with kids, you know, within a few days or a week.
Yeah.
There is no I promise there is no special certificate. You know, sometimes I will offer advice to people, or, you know, um, like you said, we did the training at ASHA. We just did one at Apraxia Kids as well, where we did a lot of hands-on stuff. You know, after that training, you're pretty ready to kind of take the next step if you want, and consider purchasing an ultrasound and, you know, doing some of that experimenting on your own.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Sorry, I just saw. Okay, I was
I
making sure.
promise you can do it, Lindsay. I
Yeah,
promise.
I know, I know. Well, y'all, so Megan was so kind and took at least I don't know, an hour out of her time, and we had a Zoom call maybe a couple months ago, and I've been so nervous to commit because there's like three different systems that we kind of talked about, and I maybe narrowed it down to two. But then seeing again the one that you guys use really is just that little box and the transducer, and that's it.
That's it.
Okay. I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and
I'm
I
gonna
think
do it.
different sites have different requirements, right? So, you know, if you are working in a large school district and they're going to buy one for you to share with 13 other speech pathologists, like,
Mhm.
you're going to want something that's pretty portable that you can just plug into the USB and play.
Right.
There are other ones that are like the big cart-based ones at the hospital. I wouldn't recommend those. They're just too big and unwieldy. There are some tablet-based systems. Like I said, one of the things that I've noticed with some of the tablet-based systems is sometimes the transducers that you hold in your hand tend to be a little bit bigger. So you just have to know you have to kind of figure out how you're going to work with that when you're working with a child, because sometimes they're bigger than even this. And this is pretty small.
Okay.
So, um, yeah.
So I know, can you go through, if you don't mind, a few of the specs that someone might look for ultrasound, if you remember off the top of your head by chance? Like,
Yeah. So you want something that's going to be B mode. So B mode is a diagnostic mode for ultrasound.
mhm.
That basically just means that like you're using it's pretty much the same way you're tracking movement, right? Like, you don't want, there are ultrasounds that physical therapists use that are designed to heat tissue. That's not the kind that you want,
Mm.
right? So a physical therapist is going to use ultrasound to like maybe break up some scar tissue. Like, that's not what you want. You want the kind that's diagnostic. So you're really looking for that like B mode.
Right.
The one we use is it's 30 frames per second. The tablet-based one that I've seen, the Philips, is 20 frames per second, and that seems to be okay. Any fewer than that, I might worry about maybe some lags or some hanging. Um, you want something that's going to be at least 90 degrees. This one is 104. And that just means that like the surface, right? So this surface, the angle from the edge of the blue to the edge of the blue, and this one is 104. You
Mhm.
want minimally 90 because that's going to help you get, again, you're capturing, sorry, I don't have enough room to put all this stuff down. That means that you're going to be capturing this amount of your tongue. So you can pretty much get from the front to the back,
Right.
which is what you're after.
Okay. And something else, I don't know, I don't think we've mentioned it, but I didn't realize this. You can get both views, right? Well, I guess we kind of did talk about that, but you can get a view sort of like from the front to see more like side elevation and lateral bracing of the tongue, but you can also get a
That looks like
view.
this.
Yeah, yeah, just by flipping the probe or the, I keep
Right.
saying probe.
So what you can imagine is if, like, think about like a laser level or like an invisible line, like kind of coming up through here. That's going to be the field that you see. So if I put that under my chin, the view that I'm going to see is my tongue from front to back.
Mm-hmm.
Here, if I take that same, I have that same like kind of like laser level glass thing. Now it's coming up through here,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be that coronal view to look at the sides of your tongue.
Yeah. It's so very cool. I'm gonna do it. Gonna do it, Megan Leece. You're an inspiration. And really, thank you so much for joining us again this year. After I attended that session at ASHA, I was like, more SLPs need this. I know it's so expensive, but I know that there are grants, there is funding, and it's not just for R either. It can be used for other phonemes, especially like apraxia of speech. There's tons of research about using it for apraxia, correct?
There, there are some research out of our lab for sure about using
Okay.
it with kids with apraxia of speech. So yeah, you can do any lingual sound. So, if you think about in that coronal position where you're looking at side elevation, that's also really good for fricatives and affricates,
Mm.
right? If you look at that front to back, you can really do some things like with sequencing, like if you wanted to do something with like KL blends where you're going like back to front, like
Ooh,
I
yeah.
want you to tap here. Or if you have somebody who has those kind of mid dorsal contacts that are like not really a tip alveolar and not really a velar, you can really work with them using the ultrasound to say like, no, I just want you to raise the front of your tongue. I don't want you to lift the back. Um, so for sure, using it with CAS, like using it for other sounds, like that is, yeah. I mean, this isn't, if you're thinking like, why would I buy a $6,000 piece of equipment just to work on R? Like, certainly there are more uses than that,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah. I think we've covered all of my questions, but is there anything lingering that you want to mention or share about?
No, the question I get most often has to do with cost. And I will be honest that I do not do the budget for the lab. John does the budget for the lab. So um, I believe that this system is about $4,500, but
Mm-hmm.
you might know more than me. I think it's about $4,500 for this particular one. The tablet-based systems, the last estimate I got was actually from a Canadian SLP who was presenting with us at Apraxia Kids. And she said that including having me come up for training, buying some other supplies like the ultrasound gel that you need, a thing of tissues, baby wipes, a holder for the tablet, some charging things, and like a cart to put it all on. She said all in, it was about $9,000. And when somebody in the room converted that, it came out to $6,500.
Okay.
I will tell you that one of the more creative solutions that I have seen for getting an ultrasound was one of my participants who had made a lot of progress. Her sister was a Girl Scout, and for her service project, she like made and sold quilts and was able to fund an ultrasound device for the district that they lived in. And they donate it to the district. So that is certainly a creative solution.
Yeah.
What I'll tell you is that um, in terms of, and Brooke Ray out of Canada is really the person to talk to about this. She said, I don't, like, the ultrasound is just a tool, and I wouldn't charge somebody extra for using a tool.
Mm-hmm.
So even though, it's an ultrasound session, she doesn't necessarily charge anymore, but she said for sure, based on the queuing and the kind of efficiency of her sessions,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely paid for itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go ahead and mention too, in case anyone's catching this on replay or anyone who's here now, if and when you do acquire an ultrasound, please contact me because I want to put you on my referral list. I get therapy inquiries from around the country and sometimes around the world. And I would love to be able to send people your way because I am only licensed in Texas. So I refer out all the time. So I just really hope that this can be something that moves from only existing in the universities where there's all this incredible research coming out to actually being in the hands of clinicians as a rule and not an exception.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I think there are some districts in Texas actually that are getting set up with
Mm-hmm.
ultrasound with Sarah Dugan.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, university clinics, um, some university clinics. There are some private practices in Canada that are rolling out ultrasound programs. So certainly, and like I said, we have one district locally that has an ultrasound that they share um,
Oh, great.
across all of the buildings. That was the one the Girl Scout raised money for.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, it was a great story.
That's so cute. That makes me really excited. I hope that this is something we see more and more of, and I hope that people want to get on the front end of that wave, I guess. It's good stuff. Well, thank you, Megan.
Of course.
I so appreciate your
I,
time.
I'm like eyeing questions out of my side eye. Somebody said, "Do kids pick up on it fairly quickly in terms of placement?" They do. Yeah, I mean, you're going to kind of walk them through what they're seeing. So we do have some on our project website. We use something called Open Science Framework, where all of our checklists and all of our teaching materials are posted. And on Open Science Framework, we have a script that we go through with kids. And after doing that script with them, like, they're pretty good at picking it up. So it kind of teaches the basics for what they're looking for and how they're oriented and what you want them to do. And all of those materials, one of the things that our lab in particular, and the C Results Project as a whole, one of the things we feel really strongly about is that we want to put free materials into the hands of clinicians. So the links for all of those things are available, in our Instagram feed, which is Speech Production Lab SYR, our lab website, but all of those OSF resources. I think there's a C Results project paper. What's that called? Like, at the beginning of the project when you publish the thing, I forget what it's called, but that definitely exists. So we try really hard to make sure that we're setting people up for success so that you can have the same kind of results we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And highly recommend that you go follow the the lab Instagram page. I think y'all are most active on Instagram. I know there is a Facebook, and I think did I find you on TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok.
Oh, I might have tagged the wrong thing. Whoops. Um, well, definitely on Instagram. There's tons of great resources. I'll
I
link
don't
it.
unless one of the students did something. Like, to my knowledge, we are not on TikTok because
Okay, well,
there are just times when, like, my middle age is showing and, like, I just can't.
but you're doing so good on Instagram, Megan.
Oh,
Because
thanks.
you're crushing it. There's tons of great information. So especially for the R, especially for apraxia of speech, I feel like those are what I see pop up most.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Marcia had a question about, if you have specific kids you're using this with, would it be hard to share across the district? I want you to think back to principles of motor learning, right? So in a principles of motor learning framework, this is really best for acquisition. You're not going to use it once kids get to about the word level. And honestly, once you're starting to do kind of like multisyllabic words and phrases, it's really hard to catch the R in that sort of connected speech anyway. So in the district that we have that's local, they kind of share it on like a month to month. So it's like, in September, Lindsay, it's your school's turn to have the ultrasound. So find all those kids that you need to work on acquisition with and really work on that hard for that particular month. And then it's going to come to my school. And in October, I'm going to do that really hard. And so it's just, so there are ways to work it out, I think, in terms of like just thinking creatively about who needs the resource when. But for sure, like, you're giving them a leg up on just showing them what they're doing and how you want them to fix it. You may find that once you have worked with them a couple times, like, maybe they're kind of over that, like, really initial acquisition hump, and then they can just do kind of the regular kind of a regular motor informed speech program with you,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't necessarily need the ultrasound.
Right. And because so I imagine that once they have elicitation, once they can find that tongue placement, I mean, ideally, we're fading the ultrasound as quickly as possible because you don't want them to rely on that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'll give you an example. So I had a research kid this morning, and we did pre-practice, which is at the beginning of every session, we have you get 30 correct productions, right? So 30 correct productions. So it's across 5 syllables. It's like, 3 each of 10 syllables, and then we move into structured practice. The 30 correct took this kid, let's say, 7 minutes. It was about that. I don't remember exactly. And then for the remainder of the session, he was at the phrase and sentence level. So we didn't touch the ultrasound for the rest of the session. So yeah, once you get to that point, and he, by the way, probably didn't need the ultrasound during pre-practice either, because if I said, like, say for me, he can do it. So at that point, like, if you can do in a handful of words, and you can do it pretty, like, automatically just at that level, you don't really need the ultrasound anymore. Then you just need a kind of a motor informed treatment plan to get that sound generalized to the rest, to novel words, novel contexts, and then to expand from words to phrases to sentences to conversation.
yeah, awesome. I love it. I just saw someone say they might try to use donors choose. I think that's
I
a
support.
great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll see about gathering some information on different grants. I know that I think the website for Texas is called Texas Grant Watch. I think. I don't know. I'll try to get some things together, because I'm hoping that this lights a fire for some SLPs to start pursuing and start bugging their bosses, or if they are the boss, to just take that leap of faith. Yay, biofeedback. It's great. All right.
I promise you can do it.
You can do it. It's not that
You can
bad.
do it.
Said the lady who touched it one time, and I was like, I'm an expert. I know I can do this. Me. That's me. I actually have a photo of Megan just handed me the transducer, and I wasn't ready for it. And
Oh my gosh, the fright on your face, the sheer terror.
no, a little. I was nervous holding it because it's just so expensive, but it was just absolute overwhelm and joy and excitement, and I just had to, like, I was so excited that I was really touching an ultrasound transducer. What an emotional moment. Okay, we're going to choose a giveaway winner in just a second. But remember to go to rocktheRuniversity.com and register, because you'll be able to catch this replay as well as all the other replays from the week with all of our guests. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking to Liliana Diaz-Vasquez at 12:30 Central about eliciting the trill R. So if you work with any Spanish speakers, that'll be a good one for you. And make sure you go follow Speech Production Lab SYR on Instagram, and I'm going to link all the things that we just spoke about in, like, right under the replay at rocktheRuniversity.com, and I'll link it in my stories at rocktherspeech in just a second on Instagram. Okay, I think that's it. The giveaway today, we're gonna be twins. I will order you a shirt. I just ordered this on Etsy for myself. I made it myself. So yeah, so let's see. Megan, do you want to do the honors and was there a particular question that stood out to you, or should we do a number?
Just do a number.
Okay. All right, Megan, think of a number 1 through 10. And people, if you're still around, put it in the comments, and the first one to guess Megan's number will be the winner of the shirt. Does nobody want the shirt? You gotta have the shirt. Oh, here we go.
Nicole.
Wow, the first guess. Okay, so Nicole Chags, probably Nicole C. Hags, I don't know. But send an email to hello@speechythings.com, and we will get you a shirt ordered. And then hopefully someday I'll get to meet you and we can take a little twin picture. That'd be great. I'll order one for Megan too. Well, thank you, Megan, for your time. I'm so excited to get this replay up there so people can start learning more about ultrasound.
Yay! Love it.
Thank you. And I'm sure I'll be asking you questions soon. I'm going to do it, Megan. I'm going to order it.
All right.
I'm
I'm
sweating,
psyched.
but I'm excited.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow at 12:30 Central. Oh, we did. Okay, bye.